Okay, I originally said this was a three-part thing, but actually, due to the amount of time these parts are, I have made a fourth part because I think it deserves its own part. So this is part 4. Hopefully you've already seen the first 3 parts exposing the BBC for exactly what they are, and this element focuses on the racist aspect of how they talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton. Compare and contrast that with how they talk about the other drivers in Formula One. So as with the third part, there's a slight overlap on what I'm playing through. This is the original video that I recorded that got blocked on YouTube, where I was analysing the manner that the BBC presented the 2023 Brazilian Grand Prix. So I'm just going to play that through, which was what my original analysis is. I might stop it and add further as I'm hearing what I actually said there. So here goes.
Guiding you through all the coverage is myself, Harry Benjamin. Alongside me is the multiple W Series race winner Alice Powell, and Jenny Gow is...
So there's the BBC presentation team. That's who they are. That's who the BBC employ to inform people about this sport. That's the knowledge that they have. That's the knowledge that they're imparting. They don't know the rules. They lie. They present possibilities which aren't possible. They come up with waffle, conjecture. So here we go. It's meaningless crap. Act like you don't know what you're doing. Are you acting? Or is it that you just don't know what you're doing? Are you corrupt? Or are you incompetent? Or are you both? Or perhaps the question should be, are you racist? Because why is it that you are hyping up a British competitor who has achieved nothing in the sport and downplaying a British competitor who has achieved everything in the sport? You're the British Broadcasting Corporation. We have a British citizen who is at the top of their profession, and you are virtually ignoring him and hyping up somebody that's done nothing by comparison. 0 wins to 103 wins. 0 championships compared to 8 championships, one of which he was cheated out of, one of which the British Broadcasting Corporation has lied about to cover up. So what are you? Why have you done that, BBC? Why have you lied to cover up an injustice against a British sportsman? Would you have done that if that was Lando Norris? What are the differences between Lando and Lewis? Is it ability? Well, yes, it is ability. One is a proven winner. One is a proven champion. So yes, there's a difference in ability there. What else are the differences? I wonder what they are. I wonder what those differences are. Oh, they're just about to say something about Sir Lewis Hamilton. Could be positive. Let's have a listen.
Lewis Hamilton, a real half-hearted effort there to defend from Fernando Alonso.
Lewis Hamilton, a real half-hearted effort to defend. Okay. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for that valuable insight that you're telling us. It was a really half-hearted attempt by a man that's half-hearted, is he? A man that's driving a machine that he has that feel for to a level that it is a fraction of a percent of the population has that ability. And yet you're saying, oh, he's just half-hearted. Do you know what that car felt like? Do you know what level of grip he had? Or is it just, I think Lewis Hamilton's being half-hearted there. Thanks for that. How about you fuck off? Right? Half-hearted. What do you know? What do you know? Do you know what it feels like to drive a Formula One car with a full fuel load? A Formula One car that you actually have got no confidence in its handling. Because if Lewis Hamilton had the confidence in how that Mercedes-Benz handled, he'd be taking it around that track quicker than he does. But that car, there's clearly a problem with it, that he is not comfortable in that car, and therefore he cannot get the grip and the lap times that he wants. Oh, but Lewis Hamilton, oh, that was a really half-hearted approach from Lewis Hamilton. Thank you. Thank you for your expertise.
Lewis Hamilton, a real half-hearted effort there to defend from Fernando Alonso. I just didn't think he expected the closing speed as...
You just don't think that Lewis Hamilton expected the closing speed, right? You don't think that Lewis Hamilton had the awareness to understand what might be going on in a Grand Prix. So you don't think back to 2021, where you don't think Lewis Hamilton had the awareness that Max Verstappen was going to take him out of that race unless he kept wide and went wider and went wider and went wider and all the way off the track when Verstappen went all the way off the track at turn 4. Oh, I don't think Lewis Hamilton expected that. Right, okay. Right. Thanks again for your valuable insight.
So he's right up actually behind Lewis Hamilton. And as I said, Lewis didn't really he sort of could have put in more effort to defend from Alonso there. I just didn't think he expected the speed of that Aston Martin down the straight.
Lewis, he could have put in more effort. Unbelievable. You know, this is coming from what? People who have got experience in the sport, who've driven a Formula One car, who've entered a Grand Prix, who have won World Championships, won Grand Prix, got pole positions. You tell us what you think, because this is really valuable.
I said Lewis didn't really he sort of could have put in more effort to defend from Alonso.
He could have put in more effort. Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you very much, the BBC and your commentary team. Thank you for that.
I just didn't think he expected the speed.
You know what? Don't think, okay? Don't think. That's when things go wrong. When you start thinking, there becomes problems. Because I don't think. I think that my opinion is equally valid as your opinion. No. Things don't work like that, okay? But keep telling the kids that. And then we descend into chaos. But maybe chaos is part of the marketing strategy. Enjoy the ride. It's only live once. Anything can happen. It's all part of the marketing strategy. And part of that marketing strategy is act like you don't know what you're doing. Because this is what Ellie Norman, the Chief Communications Officer, now of Manchester United. Oh, who's linked with Manchester United? Would that be Jim Ratcliffe, the guy that owns a stake in Mercedes? Oh, and Ineos. Oh, there's some strange goings on. People work within circles, don't they? If you're rich and if you get paid big salaries, you get certain positions and then you get another position and then you get another position. And these people are all kind of linked, aren't they? And, let's have this strategy to sell the product, to market the product. Act like you don't know what you're doing. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's an agenda. Maybe we've got a strategy to get to what we want, which is going to benefit us with money. Strange how that works, isn't it? Oh, but we're just about to talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton again, so let's have a listen. What have I clicked on there? Let's have a listen.
As we take a look at the start replay, it was actually a really good start from Hamilton.
Oh, it's a really good start from Hamilton. Finally, he's acknowledged that it was a good start from Hamilton.
Third, who managed to get almost side on round the outside of Norris, but then had to lock up, and that mistake then.
Why was that? Why did he have to lock up? Because did Lando kind of force him as wide as he could? Okay. But how does he describe what Hamilton then does?
Almost side on round the outside of Norris, but then had to lock up, and that mistake then.
Oh, that mistake. Oh, Lewis makes a mistake. Silly Lewis. He didn't try hard enough to defend against Alonso. He made a mistake.
Allowed Norris to force him out wide, which put Hamilton on the back foot, and being chased by Alonso in the run down to turn 4. Alonso switched to the inside as Hamilton kind of covered the middle ground, but didn't quite pick a side, did he? Left or right? And that.
Why might that be? Would it be with a full fuel load? That car maybe doesn't handle particularly well. And when you're on a full fuel load, on tyres which aren't at their optimum because they're probably not up to full race temperature, you don't necessarily want to be putting your car in certain places around that track because you can't be fully confident that you've got the grip to remain on the track. So maybe you drive with a bit of caution and you play the long game, thinking there's no point in spinning out of this race on lap 1 through trying to be overly aggressive against another car that is likely to overtake me anyway. So, you know what? Sometimes you use a bit of a pragmatic attitude, and you use your experience, that experience that has won you 104 Grand Prix and 8 World Championships. But you want to be highly critical of him, don't you? Be quite happy to tell us about Lewis Hamilton's mistakes. Lewis Hamilton getting lucky. Lewis Hamilton not trying. Why? Why is that? So let's put their words into context and hope that this doesn't cause this video to get blocked. So let's have a look what happened at the second restart. So similar to my first video, I'm having to give you stills instead. I did play the footage originally, but it blocked the content. So I'm going to do it with stills. This is the restart. So the front row this time is Max Verstappen with Norris in P2, Hamilton in P3. So we're just about to go into turn 1. One car, well, we'll forget Max Verstappen because Max tends to be in a race of his own because Max is the best we've ever seen in Formula 1 apparently. One of the cars behind the Red Bull started on the front row. The other car started on the second row. But we're going into the first corner and them two cars are side by side. Shit, who's had the better start? Who has covered the most ground to get to this point here in the quickest amount of time then? That would be the black car, everybody. So there you go. This is the start that Lewis Hamilton had. That's a decent start. But Lando has got the inside line. He has got the right to defend it, which is fair enough. Okay. But when you're going into a corner and you are trying to compete for position, then you might have to compromise. The rules of engagement are such that you might have to back out. By backing out, that can then compromise you going through the next corner and onto the next straight, leaving you vulnerable to be attacked. That's the dynamics of the sport. If you don't understand that, you know fuck all about Formula 1, you know nothing about motor racing. But actually, do the commentary team of the BBC explain that to you? Or just do they have a little happy circle jerk? Oh, we're all excited because anything can happen. And I think Lewis is lazy. Fuckers. So here's a still. The smoke you see is one of Lewis's wheels locking up. Now why is that? Has he hit the brakes too hard? Is it that Mercedes balance was struggling throughout that weekend? It's a sprint weekend. You know that over the course of a normal Grand Prix weekend, Mercedes usually spend the 3 practice sessions honing their setup for a Grand Prix. Sprint weekend, you effectively get 1 session. and then you're into sprint qualifying and the sprint shootout, and then you're into qualifying. You know, your setup time is limited. He's in a dog of a car anyway. He's now got a full fuel load on tyres which have only just done the warm-up lap, and he's going into the first corner side by side with somebody. Now we've seen the first start, that at that first corner, cars collided and that was their race over. These are all considerations. Did Lewis Hamilton have a collision? No, he didn't. There was a lockup. What's the reason for that lockup? Was it a Hamilton mistake? Possibly. Was it an issue with the car? Possibly. Without telemetry, without a closer look, it's impossible to say at the moment. Okay? We don't know that from our point of view as fans. We can see the evidence of a lockup, but what is the reason? Okay? We don't know. Now, it could be a mistake. I'm not going to defend Lewis Hamilton to the hilt. It could be a mistake, but there could be a reason. All right? But the fact is, up until this point, he's had the better getaway, but then the circumstances are they're going to the first bend. Norris is on the inside, which is fine. Norris has got the right to try and beat Hamilton around that corner. Lewis has also got the right to challenge, but again, there's pragmatism. Stay in the race, play the long game. Don't get taken out of the first corner. Experience, a wise head, an 8-time world champion. And here's probably the final angle I'll show you of this one is Lewis. You can't even see him on the screen at the moment. You can see the first car is Max Verstappen. This car is Lando Norris, and you can see that because Lando takes the inside line, okay, he's pretty much squeezing Hamilton as he exits that first corner. He's going across the track and squeezing Hamilton to the right. So rather than get squeezed off the track to the right hand side, Hamilton backs out. Okay, he doesn't want to end up being collided with in the same way that Max Verstappen collided with him the previous year to ruin his chances in 2022. Lewis has gone, you know what, there's no point in me keeping my car on the outside. I might as well just concede position, stick in third, and try and play the long game. But as I say, in conceding position, he's compromised his corner, which is compromising how he goes into turn 2, and that then compromises the speed he carries out of that, making him vulnerable to attack from the cars behind. That's the dynamics of the sport. Now, we can go this forward and look at the Fernando Alonso overtake, where Lewis Hamilton was lazy. Apparently, Lewis Hamilton was very lazy and he didn't try hard. Now, because of that exit around them first couple of corners, it meant Alonso was right on his tail coming down this straight towards turn 4. That's the dynamics of Formula 1. That's the way these things work. You get a slow exit out of certain corners due to your entry line in, or due to the fact that you're trying to perform an overtake or you're trying to challenge, but you then have to back out. It compromises you for the next part of the track. I'm just going to add to this. Look at the positions of the cars from this still. The leader is Max Verstappen. Second place is Lando Norris. Look at the gap. Third place is Lewis Hamilton. Look at the gap. Then fourth place is Alonso. Fifth place is at Russell. Look at the gap between Alonso and Russell. Now, why is the only gap why is it that the gap between Hamilton and Alonso is the one that's tiny? Well, that would be because Hamilton had to compromise going into the first couple of corners, which meant he's got a relatively slow exit, but Fernando Alonso has seen what's going on and has set himself up to be able to attack down this straight heading towards turn 4, which we know is an overtaking zone at this track. So therefore already Lewis Hamilton is on the back foot. Okay, look at these gaps. Lando isn't up there against Max. Lewis he's actually quite close to Lando at this stage compared to Lando against Max. It's because Super Max is so quick. He's pedaling that car so quick that he's already streaking ahead because Max is incredible. George here, George, who thinks he's faster than Lewis all the time, he's got really close to Fernando, hasn't he? So Lewis is closer to Lando than anybody else other than Fernando, who's clocked what's going on, put himself there, he's going to get the slipstream and he's going to attack. This is the dynamics of racing. But Lewis hasn't really done a bad job here. He's gone for P2 at the first corner, couldn't make it stick, all right, which is fine. But the trouble is, in not making it stick, it leaves you open to this kind of attack. This is what happens.
No DRS at this stage. Fernando Alonso against his...
So Fernando Alonso, and they've just again switched frame of this. Fernando Alonso's in his slipstream, so although there's no DRS, he still benefits from the slipstream, and that car is accelerating quicker due to that slipstream. He then pulls out of that slipstream to then make the overtake, and look what happens.
Old racing rival to the...
So he's on the inside. Now you're saying Lewis Hamilton should defend harder? What? You should run him off the track? In the way that, oh, Max Verstappen running drivers of the track, that's uncompromising. That's let them race. No. No, that's Formula One is motor racing. Okay? There is etiquette. There are rules of engagement. When you've got a man that has slipstreamed you, pulls out to make an overtake, and is more than halfway alongside you, which is what Alonso did, he becomes entitled to space around that corner. So what did Lewis Hamilton do?
Inside of 4, how brave is he?
He gave him that space. That's the rules of engagement. Okay? And there was no point in Lewis Hamilton trying to stay side by side with him around the outside of that corner on lap 1 with a full fuel load. Why? Because what is your car going to do? There's something called inertia. What does it do? You can only take certain lines at certain speeds with certain fuel loads. That's something called physics. Okay, that's the way this shit works. But Jenny Gow, tell us what you think, Jenny. I think this. I think this. Yay! Keep everybody excited. Keep lying to people. But as long as they're excited, we keep selling the product. Anyway, back to selling crack to the kids.
Verstappen stays on the racing line and then moves to the inside to defend from Norris with DRS. Side on with Verstappen. Can't make it work. Has to tuck in behind the Dutchman. But Lando Norris is coming for Max Verstappen, who...
Wow, this is exciting. I bet the children are really excited and really buying into this. Oh, fancy brands. Aspirational lifestyle. Sell the product. Keep growing the audience. Click, click, click. Advertising revenue. Social media influencers. Yay! Formula One, the global marketing machine. How do we grow the product?
Looks like he doesn't quite have the pace at this stage in the race. Is Verstappen managing? Is Norris pushing?
Oh, don't put everybody on a downer by telling the truth. Hype it up.
We can't tell just yet, but Norris is certainly pushing for the lead in this race.
Yeah, I think Lando's got to do it now because we saw how the DEG really...
And that's going to achieve what? Lando's got to do it now. Lando's got to do it now. Because otherwise, what'll happen? Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull. Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen. Oh, what happened? Oh, Max Verstappen won. There you go. Here we go again.
Well, he's half a second behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton. That is the battle for 4th and 5th. So Russell not happy then anymore to sit and wait behind Hamilton. Jenny.
So let's big up the other Englishman, the other Brit, George Russell. Okay, let's say, does he have the ability to overtake Lewis Hamilton, because if he had, well, he'd do it. But George gets on the radio and says, "Oh, can we play the team game now that I'm behind Lewis?" Every time that, the few occasions that he's ahead of Lewis, he's quite happy to play the team game then, aren't you, George? But when you're behind Lewis, you want to play the team game. Yeah, I'll do a video about that, you snake. But again, BBC, here we go.
Just have the feeling that Verstappen knows what his capabilities are, and it's like a...
Oh, it's Max Verstappen's capabilities. Max Verstappen's capabilities. Supermax, the best we've ever seen. It's his capabilities.
A cat with its prey, just reeling them in, playing around with them, flicking them up in the air, and then gobbling them up.
I thought we had...
Because we'd seen all that prior to 2021, hadn't we? We'd seen all of this ability, that he had the ability to do that with everybody. Or is it that it's only that's ever happened since this Red Bull car is light years ahead of everything else? But Max has got this ability to do that, yeah?
Had a race on our hands at one
So
stage
did I.
there. I got excited. I think we all...
You thought you had a race on your hands, yeah? Just like the other races you've seen prior to this one. Yeah, you'd seen all them races. You saw what happened in them races, but you still hyped this one up and pretended that it was all going to be, anything could happen. It's only live once. I'm getting tired of saying it. I'm getting tired of seeing it. It's boring, okay? But it's not real. It's fake. It's hype. And you're the hype merchants.
All did, didn't we? Hey, let's not speak too soon. The other Red Bull is battling hard for fifth place at the moment. Sergio Perez is right on the rear wing of George Russell, but so is Lance Stroll. He's right in. It all actually is stacking up, Alice, behind Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis is holding everybody up, isn't he?
Yeah, and Russell came over and said, right, we need to work together. But this is probably not what he was thinking about working together, but it's protecting.
Oh, really? But what's George's idea of working together?
Him really having Hamilton there, but he probably feels that he's a little bit more racier than Lewis Hamilton there, as Logan Sargent continues.
So George thinks he's racier than Lewis Hamilton. What has the empirical evidence of the season shown everybody? That actually, when George has been ahead, he's actually been the one that's holding Lewis Hamilton up. He was clearly holding Lewis Hamilton up in several races. And then I think it was Singapore where George ended up crashing out under pressure. Had he have released Hamilton numerous laps before, Hamilton could have got a much better result in that race, because he looked like he was capable of lapping far faster than Russell. When has that ever been the case with Russell? Although Russell gets on the radio and complains, oh, I'm faster than Lewis. I'm faster than Lewis. Let me by. Let me by. Let me by. I'm faster than Lewis. No, you're not, George. No, you're not. But you keep whining on the radio. But the BBC doing? Yeah, George thinks he's faster than Lewis. Are you going to tell us that he's not? Are you going to tell us the same dynamic that I've just explained to you, that this is what George does? George likes to whine and claim that he's faster, and yet what does the evidence show? What does the race time show? What did the lap time? What does the consistent lap time? What does the race craft show? Who's got more championship points? Why is that? Which driver is capable of actually seeing through the Grand Prix distance and has the better chance of achieving the better result based on their ability? That would be Lewis Hamilton. Have you told us any of that, the BBC? Have you explained the dynamics behind that, BBC? What it is to be a Grand Prix driver? What it is that you need to be. It's not just Lando. Let's see if Lando makes a lunge and then gets a good result. Does that get you a good result if you just make a lunge? Or have you got to actually drive consistently for 71 laps, or however many laps it is, go through all the considerations, and end up bringing that car home in the best possible position? Who's capable of doing that? Who is capable of doing that in the best possible way? Who's demonstrated over their career that that's what they're capable of doing? And who just talks about it? Here is George Russell.
So, George, we need more management, turn 11 on throttle.
You want me to race or concede positions? You want more management? I will go backwards.
We do need to make sure these tyres make it through this stint. We do want to race, but we want to make it through the stint.
So that's George Russell there. Really.
And you can even feel his race engineer thinking, sausage! Anyway, talk us through what George Russell's predicament is, please, BBC commentary team.
Really upset. Well, say really upset. Frustrated is probably the best word to describe it. And you know what? I feel him, because it's not an easy job having to manage. And for example, turn 11 on throttle is the fast left-hand sweeper just before turn 12. So you are going to try and manage the throttle.
Yeah, you can empathise. You can really feel for George, can't you? That he's struggling in a difficult car that's not handling the circuit very well. You can feel for George, can't you? Lewis didn't defend very well. That was a bit, it wasn't trying very hard. Lewis made mistakes. Lewis not very good. Yeah. There's always differences. I've heard it so many times in the way that when Lewis is doing well, oh, that Mercedes car seems to be working really well. The Mercedes car seems to be working really well every time Lewis does something. When anybody else does something, oh, Max is incredible. Lando is incredible. Amazing from Max or Lando or George. When Lewis does something well, oh, the Mercedes car is doing really well. Why? Why? Because I follow many sports and have done for many years. And I've seen greats of many sports. And I've not once encountered media basically overlooking and kind of neglecting to explain to the world the magnitude of the accomplishments of the individual concerned. But with Lewis Hamilton, no, it's different. Why is that? Why is that? And you know, you've got to look at what the differences are between the different people involved. What are the differences? What could the reasons be? I wonder. What could the reasons be? Right, I'm going to draw this one to a close because you've seen the key points so far, and it's just more continued hype all the way through. Lots of waffle, and I'm sure there'd be other inaccuracies that could easily point out. But you need to understand that it's just crap. You've got presenters there that don't know the rules of the sport or pretend they don't know the rules of the sport, hype up probability or present eventualities which aren't even possible. And this is what this shit show is. The shit show of Formula One. Now, I'll need to just, the footage I've used of this, I tried to look on BBC Sounds to see if I could get the replay of the Grand Prix. It wasn't on there, so I looked on YouTube, and the only place I could find it was on this channel, which was Wesman444. So thank you, Wesman444. I'm just going to show my support. I've just hit subscribe on your channel. So check him out if you're interested in listening to some of the BBC commentaries that he's got on his channel. But the key things that I need you to take away from this are, number one, the BBC. Their coverage is there to parrot the narrative. It is there to parrot the Formula One agenda of anything can happen. Enjoy the ride. It's only live once. They've got nothing to lose. Okay, the BBC, they just play into that. That's a sport sport-wide agenda. It's a sport-wide agenda that has been proposed by Ellie Norman, who was the Chief Communications Officer, the Chief Global Marketing Director for Formula One. They came up with a strategy. I'm going to take you through this video, but I'm going to put the link to this video in the description. Act like you don't know what you're doing. That's part of their strategy. That's part of the way they market the product, to increase the saleability of the product. That's the way they view this. You're the consumer. They want your customer. They want you to buy the product. How are they going to get you to buy the product? Hype up that product. Lie about the product. Pretend that they don't know what they can do, what they're doing. Anything can happen. Wow, tune into this. It's going to be crazy. Whoa! It's a strategy. And the British Broadcasting Corporation have fully bought into it. It shows corruption, because that's not what they're there for, is it? And look at the way they talk about the individuals involved, and look at the differences in the way they talk about those individuals, and drill down to why is it that they talk about those individuals in the different ways that they do, because that's quite telling. Answers in the comment section. Thanks once again for your time. We will get to the bottom of this. We will expose these corrupt bastards that are manipulating sport and actually manipulating so many things in this world through the media, through the corrupt use of media. Maybe these people that are presenting Formula One that don't really know what Formula One is, don't know the rules of Formula One, but just make this shit up and present to you that, oh, maybe Charles Leclerc can restart this race. Or maybe on the restart, is Lando Norris going to be in 6th? Or is he going to be in 7th or 2nd? Because we don't know. Because anything can happen. You know, maybe because they can't talk about Formula One because they don't know about it, maybe the BBC can use them to tell you that Israel fully is justified, fully deserves to go into Palestine and kill Palestinians. You know, is that part of the narrative as well? You know, Israel is within its own rights to commit war crimes against the Palestinians. And that's not saying that what Hamas did was right, because it truly wasn't. But that does not give anybody validation to go and kill a civilian population. BBC, what are you doing? Parroting the narrative. Where does the narrative come from? You need to start looking further afield, but you also need to realise that what is happening in Formula One carries grave implications as to what is going on in this world and how these things actually affect each and every one of us. It is truly disgusting. Thanks for your time.